Trade between China and the EU is solid, but political tensions are also rising. What's the business climate like for the two sides despite the political differences? I'll get the viewpoint from a German company in China. And China-US ties are at a crossroads with contradictory calls from the US for both competition and cooperation. Can a Chinese vision of engagement shine a light on the way forward? I had tea with a Chinese professor who has been searching for the answers. Welcome to The Point, an opinion show coming to you from Beijing. I'm Li Xin. China remained the European Union's largest trading partner in the first quarter of this year, with imports and exports both increasing by over 20% year-on-year, according to Eurostat, the EU's statistical service. However, political differences are apparently widening between the two sides. How are European businesses in China navigating the difficult times? What's their outlook for the future? How much are politics impacting the business climate? To get a first-hand perspective, I'm pleased to be joined from Beijing by Walter Benz, president of Big Dutchman Group, a leading provider of innovative equipment for modern egg, poultry and pig production, headquartered in Germany. I'm also pleased to be joined from London by Dr. Yu Jie, senior research fellow on China at Chatham House, an associate fellow of LSE IDEAS, a foreign policy think tank of the London School of Economics and Political Science. She's recognized as a leading woman of the LSE for her contribution in teaching and engaging the public debates on China's foreign affairs. Welcome to both of you. Mr. Benz, let me go to you. Now, your company is headquartered in Germany, as I said, but has been doing business in China since the early 1990s. How important is your China business to the company, and what projects have you undertaken in the year 2020 despite the pandemic, and the progress of these projects?
For Big Dutchman globally, of course, it was not a good year in 2020. We did not grow significantly, but luckily the situation for China was totally different. We had a good year in 2020, and to be honest, we have an even better year in 2021. So based on the fact that after pandemic, China got, due to the preventive measures, the situation very much under control. We had a lot of good internal measures with cost down initiatives, localization. We have become very much a local company. This is related to many things: local production, local products, changing a bit our specifications according to the customer needs, good enough products for China. So we did a lot of internal measures to become more cost competitive, and we gained a lot of projects last year and this year, and this means for all our 3 BUs, which you mentioned before: chicken, pig and layers.
How important is your China business?
It becomes increasingly important. When I look at the ratio of the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years since I'm here, we have probably doubled our business, and ratio within the overall turnover of the group has gone from practically 8% to almost 15%.
15%, so that's almost doubling. The European Union Chamber of Commerce in China and the global consulting firm Roland Berger published a survey in June last year which showed that nearly 90% of European businesses in China remain committed to China. That's 4% higher in 2019 despite the COVID-19. So how committed would you say your company is to China, and why do you think the commitment has deepened despite the difficult times?
I had even the opportunity to speak a few words with Jörg Wuttke, the head of Chamber of European, the head of the Chamber of European Chamber of Commerce, and he mentioned even the new study, and this shows even that the European companies are even a bit more confident now. So 91% are confident about China. In fact, for our companies, as I said, it's very lucky that we are here. We have become very local company. We can compete with the local companies. We even try to expand our business. This could mean for the future something like to produce ourselves in China. It could mean as well to enter in the future into some kind of M&A transaction. But this is, of course, part of our strategy, and we cannot disclose the details. But I would rather say that we try to expand our footprint in China in the next years significantly.
But what are the factors that that prompt you to make this decision, or what would you say would be factors prompting the European businesses in general to have so much commitment about China? Is the business climate improving? Is the communication with the government easier? What are some of the factors you can pinpoint?
I mean, in general, we see that for a lot of companies, maybe market access is still difficult. Some of the problems with level playing fields, for example, that there were some restriction for business people, and this means as well for our specialists in Europe to come over here to China. This has still not so much improved, and I think we have to have here improvements, especially for other companies and other industries as well. But for ourselves, as agriculture is a very local business in China, and we have become, in the meantime, I think for our business, very independent. Yeah? So we can act very independently from our headquarters. We have a lot of research and development here. We have a lot of the experts here, and we have trained in the last year a lot of our Chinese people to be on the same level like the German people or like the European people. And this is probably now our advantage, that we are not so dependent anymore on our headquarters in Europe.
I see. Well, also according to the survey, there are lots of areas where sentiments are mixed. For instance, only certain sectors seem to have benefited from Chinese government reform measures, while others struggle, or that indirect barriers seem to be twice as common as direct ones, and most openings have brought it's said that most openings have brought limited results for major European players. If I asked you to pinpoint some big obstacles for your company and other European companies, what would they be?
The biggest obstacles for us now in the last 1 year was that in some cases we were not able to get the experts from Germany to China. Even for myself, last year I left China in February and came only back in July with a valid residence visa, but it was very difficult for me to come back. So it's now still difficult to get, in some cases, specialists from Germany. I mean, it's only, as I said, we have most of the people here, but for some selective cases.
What is your prospect? How do you look into the future, and especially the possible impact of political tensions on businesses, on European businesses here in China?
I hope that, I mean, I'm not a politician, but I hope that the economic sense will come into the foreground. I think it's for both parties, China and the EU, and you know that even China exports more than to Europe than opposite, and there's a lot of potential as well. You mentioned before that now between EU and China, the trade volume is higher than between US and Europe, but we have, if we count, for example, the services, it's still US and EU is higher. But having said this, I see this as in a positive way. There's a lot of potential as well to exchange and trade services between EU and China. So at the end, I hope the rational mind is important, more important than political problems and gaps. And I think we will not change China, and China will probably not change the EU. So I think we have to work together apart from political changes, and I think it's as well important for the wealth of both regions.
Yeah. Well, definitely, that's our hope as well. Dr. Yu, having heard the first-hand experience of a German company, of a European company operating in China, what are your thoughts? For instance, the increasing, extraordinarily high level of commitment of European businesses here in China, despite the COVID restrictions and, of course, the concerns, you know, the obstacles that they pinpoint as well.
Well, I think obviously Mr. Benz provided very grounded view compared with some of the European Parliament members, and seems to have not really visited China, but then come with a great assertion that letting the politics intervene economics. So far, I think part of the reason why European companies do have a confidence towards China is mostly because of really solid economic recovery that China put forward. So I think that's the reason number one. And reason number two is really the market size of the Chinese market. And I mean, that's absolutely crucial for many European companies. But having said all of that, but I think gradually that larger size multinational European companies will find it gradually difficult to navigate on this geopolitical headwind between China and the European Union. And also that's also largely depending on how the Sino-US relations evolve over time as well.
Dr. Yu, on the other side, however, Chinese businesses in Europe showed less favorable views concerning the ease of doing businesses there. One of the reasons was reportedly the political environment, according to a survey by the China Chamber of Commerce to the EU, and the same global consulting firm Roland Berger published last September. The total score on rating, for instance, the ease of doing business in Europe dropped from 73 points in 2019 to 70 points in 2020. That's a 3% drop, and 68% feel the EU has been tightening its China policy. The Chamber of Commerce's chairwoman described the EU's approach as conservative. So what accounts for the disconnect between the two pictures? One of European businesses increasingly committed to China, and the other of Chinese businesses feeling increasingly less welcome in Europe.
I think it's partially this hardening view within the European political establishment that consider China as a potential existential threat towards European ways of living and also towards European political system. I think one of the key turning point we should consider is by 2019, March 2019, European Commission labeled China as a systemic rival, and which is to say that it is not just the economic challenge by China posed towards European Union, but more importantly, it was the political challenge from China towards the EU, which really make the European politicians feel perhaps there should be more variants of China's rise and China's presence within the EU. But however, I think that's only one turning point. But hardening view from European Union towards China was already on the way back to 2015, 2016 onward. So I think what we have experienced so far is really an accumulation of various political headwinds altogether, and that's bring the scenario where we are now.
Okay, many thanks to my two guests, Walter Benz from Big Dutchman Group and Dr. Yu Jie, Senior Research Fellow on China at the think tank Chatham House and Associate Fellow at LSE IDEAS. You've been watching The Point with me, Liu Xin. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back right after that. Stay with us.